What's up? We're in the final part, right? I didn't want to enter into a third part. I just wanted to be done here, but we're going to just continue. Please go check out the previous part to gauge your bearings to understand where it is that we're coming from. I'm basically speaking about the indestructibility of 21st century food and products and what have you, and how it is that I made this like store-bought, this home product using very quickly perishing products, like quickly perishing ingredients. Things like eggs, avocado, and like a week and a half old mango, what have you. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that really you need to throw it away day before yesterday, or it's going to start to smell, it's going to start to go off, it's going to get moldy, it's going to get fuzzy, and whatnot. I made a product using those ingredients, right? And I've preserved it. I have prospered to preserve it. It's chilling in the bathroom. One of it is here, another one is in the bathroom, another one is in my mom's closet, blah blah, etc. And they're not going off. And I even took a risk in giving my family members some of my hair product, trusting, they're hoping that it's not going to go off on them. They're going to be like, "Who Karabo, this thing of yours saying khajwanong." Nothing of that is happening. And so far, 2 weeks and counting. So I keep on smelling it every day to see what's going on, and it smells like product. It smells like all the fragrance that you find in their products, whatnot, and what have you. Yeah, so I'm running with it, I'm sticking with it, but there's like something in there that's super duper preserving it. And when I was feeling like I'm obsolete this morning, feeling like I'm done for, like it's over, the Lord basically used that scene in that movie Mortal Engines to say to me, "You're like that Twinkie, Karabo." And initially I was offended on some, "Are you saying I'm an expired product? What in the world?" And the Lord was like, "Hey, I said you're like that Twinkie. You're like that Tinky. In other words, you're the food of the ancients. You're practically indestructible and nothing destroys it. That's what you are. So whether or not you are 39 is irrelevant. Bottom line is you are a 2118 expired product in the year 5000 that is still edible. That's what you are. And people around your life see that. And that's why they are waiting. They're telling themselves that as soon as she gets exhausted and it's like, oh, and she's all exasperated on the floor, flattened as with a steam roller, a steam iron. Yeah, no. Then they will be like, "Look, I'll help you. I'll take you. Look, I can take care of you." There are people waiting outside of you because they are noticing that you're like the ancients. You are like the ancients. You're like the food of the ancients. Like in Mortal Engines, that is practically indestructible. And so it's still edible 3,000 years later because they done put some funny stuff in it. You're like those McDonald's fries out here in a time lapse, looking as good as day one, 365 days later. That's what you are. You've been preserved. You've been preserved, but you don't see it. You feel inwardly like you are, what is this word that I'm looking for? Obsolete. The world keeps on saying to you that you've got a geriatric womb. The world keeps on saying to you that you're an older woman enough, 39, you're 40 now, you're about to be 40 in a minute, blah blah blah, etc. It don't matter. You're like the food of the ancients. You're like the food of the ancients. Whether or not the world has said you're expired and put an expiration date on you, tagged you like you're an animal, clipped even a tag on your ear like you're a cow. Bottom line is, with or without that expiration date, somebody in the year 5000 gonna be able to eat you and not go sick. That is going to happen. There was a time, like I buy a lot of my products at Chinatown, and sometimes China, does not quite work in tandem with South African regulation. You cannot sell an expired product at Dis-Chem and get away with murder. Like, that stuff not gonna fly. They're gonna give you your money back as in day before yesterday and try and basically cross their fingers, hope to die that you're not going to sue them as a result of having purchased a bad product. Right? But despite having purchased a bad product, these days bad products don't kill. They literally don't kill. Like, you literally, the most that you're going to gain is just a little bit of a disgusted look on your face on some, "Oh, this thing expired 2 weeks ago." So I buy a lot of my stuff at China, and before I started looking at expiry dates, I would come home and use a product, and one day as I'm blissfully going through my product, I would happen upon the expiration date label and find out that this thing expired in 2021. Found out that this thing has expired, like when the last year was 2023. There is a product that I bought from China that had expired literally in 2021. In 2021. And by the time I had discovered its expiration date, it had already cleared my acne. And I was like, these people are playing dangerous games with us. I was tempted to lament, complain, and even go back to the store and say, you sold me an expired product. But then I was like, but it's cleared your acne. It still worked. I started looking at all of the products that I bought from that Chinatown store. In the bathroom, there was this retinol infused body wash that I bought. And lo and behold, it was expired. You and I at least got 2022. It was the year prior. Not quite, 2 years ago. And it was still soapy, foaming and everything, but I was like, what is it doing to my body? I then started to Google online what in the world could potentially happen to you if you used an expired product. And even the internet was like, well, I mean, nothing much. It'll probably maybe be less efficacious, but it'll still work. A lot of the people in the forums were not even trying to say that it's going to break you out into hives. They were not even trying to say you're going to get itchy. They were not even trying to say that you are going to get an allergic reaction. They just said, at most, you know, it might not be as efficacious, but it certainly will still work. So I stopped being kind of fretful about using expired products, because one of them worked on me, and only by the time that I discovered it was expired, had it already cleared my acne. So I was like, whatever, I'm just right, whatever. Like, I cannot tell it that I don't have money. However, I do check, though. I do like look at the expiration dates now these days. And also another thing that I bought from Chinatown that I discovered only once I started looking at labels was expired, was Grandpa, as in medication. It is a pharmaceuticals product. You consume it to deal with a headache, period pain, neck problem, issue, whatever. Yeah, Grandpa, guys. I'm just trying to get to a point here. Grandpa. I was busy buying Chinatown Grandpa for it was months now that I was buying China. I was just grabbing and thinking, oh, it's cheap, it's like half price. I'm running with these half price Grandpas, and one day, I see that, whoa, this thing it expired. With the Grandpa, though, the expiration date like goes back like a couple of months, like 6 months ago. So the Grandpa that at that stage I had purchased was expired in 2023, perhaps like February, when it was December. And I was like, Ebatung, I'm out here like drinking medication that's expired. That stuff cannot be safe, it's dangerous. And then I remembered that, Karabo, did it get rid of your headache? Yeah, it did. Did it get rid of your period pains, if that's what you were using it for? I guess so. Well, then if it got rid of the aches and the pains in your body, it did what under heaven it is that it was supposed to do, wasn't it? And at that stage I was like, what in the world do they put in stuff in 2023? What do they put in stuff in 2024? What are they putting in these products of ours? I then went on the internet to figure out how can you tell that a product is expired without you looking at it, right? Without you seeing the expiration date. And some of them said that it will, you know, like maybe get harder, or it'll separate. Like the ingredients, the emulsifiers will no longer, or the stabilizers will no longer be keeping the product together. So you're going to have to shake it up and mix it. But even that wasn't happening. Even that wasn't happening. It was not separating. It was not shaking. It wasn't getting hard. And on top of that, it was not losing efficacy like promised, right? I do check now whether or not a product is expired, but sometimes even if it's expired, I still buy it anyway if there is no product that I can find that is current. They don't always sell expired products, but you gotta be careful when you buy at Chinatown. Some of them are expired, and just as a matter of principle, I don't want them expired. But that date that they put on there is literally just for, you know, convenience sake, for just in case. They just put it there for the sake of not being sued, for the sake of not having anybody pounce on them with complaints, for the sake of not dealing with so many returns that a company starts to basically lose profits and what have you. They put it on there as a legal contingency, just in case. But frankly, even if they didn't put these expiration dates on there, these products would still work 5-10 years later. 5-10 years later. Maybe even more. But I mean, if a product is still out just on your shelf after 10 years, girl, you obviously are not using it, just throw it away. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that chick in Mortal Engines that said that the food of the ancients is practically indestructible. Like you can still eat it. And then that dude went and ate that Twinkie anyway. That was an accurate point. And I have seen that personally with products that are expired, that are still working to clear my acne, to brighten up my skin, whatnot, and what have you. All right. One that was an ingested product. In other words, I ate it. Grandpa also worked. That was expired. However, ever since discovering expired Grandpa, I'm very careful with what I ingest type thing. But in terms of what I put on my body, I've become less pedantic because I realize that there is something that these human beings have discovered in the spirit of trade and industry proliferating and shelf-lifing of products that makes them put some things that make sure that products do not ever go off, even though they put expiration dates on them. I've come to learn that enough to make my own products using products from the store. Because I realized that they put such hard knock paraben. No, it's not just only parabens, but whatever it is that are the preservatives they use. They are so intense that you can, even when you water them down, like I watered down a hair product in order to make another product. And I used ingredients that rot very quickly on your kitchen counter, if at all you leave them out. Things like cut open fruit, cut open bananas, open eggs, like end of life mangoes, and stuff like that. A juice as well. If you put it on the kitchen counter for a week, when you come back, there's going to be mold on the surface. It's going to be moldy on the surface unless it has been preserved in some funny kind of strange way. Yeah, I used just things like those. So yeah, I put in like some cranberry juice, mango, carrots, whatnot, stuff that by now should be stanky, but it's still operational 2 weeks later, even in a humid environment. And the Lord thoroughly went on to say to me, you're like that Twinkie in that movie, Mortal Angels. Not angels, I keep saying angels, I guess it could be angels, but Mortal Engines. You're like that Twinkie in that movie, Mortal Engines. And while I initially felt insulted by being called expired, I came to later learn that God would not ever insult me. Why would he do that? He was rather trying to tell me that I've been preserved. And that no matter how much time progresses, no matter how long I wait in this position, I am preserved just like that Twinkie. That 2118 Twinkie that was still edible in the year 5000. The Lord was trying to tell me, you're 39, Karabo. And you know that. That's the biggest problem. You know your age. You know your chronological age. You have not lost your mind. You don't have amnesia. You have life experience that is 39 years long behind you. And so because you remember being in school in 2002, matric, because you remember being at varsity first year 2003, because you remember 2006 working in corporate South Africa as a program coordinator, because you remember getting a promotion 2 years later to project manager, because you remember your 20s having come and gone, because you remember all that, you thoroughly feel like you are ancient. You have memory of all of those years that progressed, but these people took away a decade of your life. Understand, I am God, I'm in the heavens, I do whatever I please, I will also not be mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, so too shall he reap. So if they made a decision to freeze my daughter's life and take her nowhere, if they made a decision to make out of you an Antarctic igloo living Eskimo for a good 20 to 10 years, I am going to basically raise a standard above them and laugh at them. Man plans and God laughs. I am going to laugh at them by allowing them to put you in a refrigerator because they have literally frozen your life. They've done spells to freeze you in place. One of the spells of which they actually put some paraphernalia that represents your body in an actual refrigerator and froze you in there and said you're gonna go nowhere. And so I'm letting their witchcraft work. You are right when you say I'm sovereign and I've got power to prevent witchcraft from working even against unbelievers. But with you, you are, what do you call this thing? You are a monument. You are an example to them. I allowed them to put you in a freezer and said, very well, just like the chicken that you buy from Pick and Pay, that you put in a fridge, that after 6 months, you can take it out and still eat it. Like the chicken you put in your deep freezer, that after 1 year, you can still put it in, you can still thaw it and cook it. I'm gonna let you take my daughter and put her in a whole cold bed. Put her in a mortuary, freeze her, literally kill her life, decimate her. But understand, from the date that you put her in that refrigerator, she will not age a single day. She will be frozen like chicken in the fridge. She will be preserved because you put her in a preserved, like proper. If you're gonna go grab a dead body and put it in the Antarctic Circle, it will not decompose because it's in a deep freezer. It will not decompose. So, whatever it is that's decomposing the world around you, my daughter was not she is not going to decompose. I'm going to make out of her like the food of the ancients. She's going to have some hard knock parabens in her. And like McDonald's fries, after 1 year, proper, they will still be out. You're looking like, just put them in the microwave and you're good to go. I am going to make my daughter a stumbling block for the occult. I am going to make her that which is exorbitantly humiliating. Your rituals, your voodoo dolls, these things you prick into, trying to force people to do something that they don't want to do. You want to freeze my daughter's YouTube channel so she goes nowhere, growing very slowly, 1 subscriber a year. If you want to do that to my daughter, give her literally I literally gain about maybe 1 or 2 subscribers a month. If you want to go and make sure my daughter only gets 1s and 0s binary code for views on YouTube, walking very slowly in comparison to everybody else, then so too will the aging process in her body also be very slow. I will slow my daughter down as much as you want her to be slowed down. So however long you want her to remain in a frozen state, she will then be a freak of nature. She will be an anomaly out here in these streets. You will look at her turn 40, she will turn 41, 42, and you will make an observation of the fact that despite her being a particular age, nothing of hers, not even her hands, is aging. I will make sure of it. I've made out of you a monument. I've made out of you like the food of the ancients. Practically in indestructible, and even, what do you call this thing? Even if you try to water her down, just like I did with my product, the way these parabens are so hard knock, even if you try to water her down by adding banana and avocado, utlo dula on the shelf for 2 weeks and it will not smell. She will still be viable 100%. I am going to make a joke out of you. That's what you must understand. You are going to look like animals. My daughter is going to be pursued by younger men thinking that she's their age. And they are going to be shocked to find out that she is literally a middle-aged woman because you put her in a fridge. You decided to go and grab a voodoo doll and put it in a fridge. You made a decision to freeze her YouTube channel going nowhere. If she can't grow in life, if she can't have children, what in the world is going to happen? Like, Papa, if this woman cannot grow, if she cannot get a YouTube channel going, if she can't do anything, if she can't interview for any job successfully, if she cannot have some children visiting her in her office, walking around in school uniform, colleagues busy pinching their cheeks. And some of your kids are so cute. If my daughter can't do that, if you're going to keep her like a child, then she's going to look like one. That's what you must understand. You are going to be humiliated by her frozen condition, position, despite being so intelligent, so gifted, and so able to do so very many things. Right now, I'm even telling you about product that I made for my hair that is growing it out really beautifully. My hair has, ever since me using this product that I made for myself, it's gone. I've always had black hair, but it's gone even more jet black. It's gone even blacker. It's gone even blacker. That is a reversal of aging right there. I already spoke about that in another video, but I don't even have time to do hair content or to advise people on hair because of the fact that I'm so busy doing ministry, because this is all that I can think about. All I can concentrate on is my sorrowful life, such that I cannot even think about expanding a business in doing hair, for instance, hair products, even though I love them. So all I do now is just give my products to my family and experiment on them, try to see how black my mom's hair is going to get after using my product for a couple of weeks. I want to see how thick my sister's hair is going to get after using my product for a couple of weeks, to gauge if at all my product is actually working the way that I imagine it's working on me. Just to make sure that I'm not, what is this word that I'm looking for? Like self-deluding. Like with delusions of grandeur. Like, you know, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you think, ooh, I'm doing such a great job. Meanwhile, nothing's going on. I figured that if other people use my product, then maybe I'll make an observation with them if at all my products are working. Because I can't buy my own preservative. I cannot purchase my own preservative. People like me have seen it fit to impoverish me to a point where I cannot purchase my own preservative. So if I cannot buy my own preservative, then the Lord will be that particular preservative. I am a monument. That's what y'all need to understand. God is using me as an example. And while I am looking at my biological clock, and I also have memory of all of these years that I've progressed. I have memory of being in high school in 2001. I have memories of being in primary school in 1994. That's what I remember. And yet I look like people who can't even fathom what in the world what they were doing in 94. Because they were so young. They were babies. They were still kids. And yet I look like them. I look like younger millennials, or the very latter end of Gen Z. That's what I look like. I look like young, basically the tail end of millennials and the beginning of Gen Zs. And the only reason why I look that way is because people have seen it fit to freeze me and literally rob from me a life. I can't children? For real? Like, just like that. I cannot have children. Just like that, I can't marry. Why do you think my ex-boyfriend still wants me? Why do you think this bugger from America is still holding on for dear life? These are men that are making observations of the fact that I'm like the food of the ancients. I am practically indestructible. But you see, when you wither away at a woman's confidence and self-esteem, when you rip them apart by causing them so much isolation and loneliness with nobody looking at them, nobody trying to even talk to them, no man trying to pursue them, when you make a woman feel like she's nothing because no one is trying to marry her, she will then think, I guess I better take whatever comes, until you end up walking a woman down the aisle that is so glorious in comparison to you. You are obviously scraps. You are obviously something that she has settled for, that everybody in the room will feel ashamed of themselves for throwing this woman to the hands of a man like that. Men who have finished themselves off, mown themselves to the ground, are trying to mine me at night when there are no guards. Except, like I said in the first part, the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and he delivers them. I have not been forsaken. I am just like Sarah. I'm like the food of the ancients. I'm indestructible. I am barely aging. I am aging as slowly as people are slowly growing my YouTube channel. I started out growing 300 subscribers a month. If at all that rate were continued, the bigger I got, the more exponential my growth would become month on month. By now, I'd be sitting on perhaps about 10,000 subscribers. But I'm still on just under 1,000, or maybe a little over 1,000. I don't even check my stats. It is shameful how far I'm not going. Given this work that I do every single day, trying so very hard to encourage people to not do this dark thing. It's written in God's word that when the enemy comes at us like a flood, the Lord will raise a standard above him. And this here is the standard. I'm 39 years old. I was born in 1984 on the 8th of August. I'm turning 40 in August of this year. And I look not a single day over the age of 25. And that's going to keep being a thing for as long as I'm still suffering. Only because the Lord keeps telling me I'm like the food of the ancients. So when you are like the food of the ancients, that's practically indestructible. When you're like McDonald's fries that don't go off after a year of chilling in hot weather. When that's you, why under heaven do you imagine that you gotta compromise and settle because human beings by their standards and their clocks that keep on going tick-tock, that you gotta now capitulate to what it is that they say you must do, given that you're like, 39 years old and nowhere. 39 years old and nowhere. You serve the author of time. Go and listen to a poem by Genetics on YouTube called I Will Wait For You. She speaks about the same thing. By the grace of God, Genetics was blessed with a husband. Ultimately, she didn't have to wait like me, all the way to the age of 40, basically, waiting on God for a husband. But one of the things she says in her poem is, why would I be concerned about my biological clock when I serve the author of time? That's Genetics' I Will Wait For You poem. I listened to that poem when I was still nicely, freshly 26 years old. And I was so inspired by her. I was so inspired by her words. I was so inspired by her piety and her encouragement to cause Christian women to wait and not settle for guys who say stuff like, how far is too far before I start to sin? Whereas you are waiting on God for a man whose words of God are tatted all over his heart. Like, go listen to that poem, Yega Genetics. It's extremely encouraging. It is still resonating in my mind and my heart right now, even though I'm 39 years old. She says that she will wait on God because what else is there? My biggest qualm is not having children and having people look at me like I will never have them when they got to have them. People who got to be all round, and guys, I long to know what it's like to have a baby move in my stomach. A whole full human being just growing inside me. That miracle of God, I desperately long to experience it. I want to know what it's like to be pregnant, to have a human growing. I mean, guys, whoa. Like, it's such a miraculous thing that so many people take for granted that, it just happens. It's like I have a whole human being growing, and people are trying to not let me experience that. Like, they got to live, they got to be pregnant, and happy or unhappy, it doesn't matter. They got to have people walking around, like somebody made in my image, just walking around in these streets, like somebody that looks like me, that has my eyes, that has my head, somebody that has got my toes. Like, I really want to know what it's like to see myself in a person. I've wanted that since I was 23. I'm 39, and people are like, tough luck. For real? Tough luck. Tough luck. I must just like that. Like, just like that. Just like that. That's what witches do. They take away people's life experiences. There are literally enough men on earth to marry the women here, and vice versa, at any given level, generation, age, and yet people literally refuse for people to get married and keep on growing the earth's population. It's disturbing how ridiculous witches can be. It's so freaking disturbing. It's like, why don't you want me to just have a child in a marriage to a man that loves me? Like, what is so problematic with that, given that there's so many men to go around and there's so many women to go around, that really and truly we don't need to fight for one or two or the other. Like, literally there's enough for all of us to share, and yet nobody wants me to do what they're all doing. Priding yourself in being a mom while I can't be one? What kind of mean, disastrous, dastardly disposition is that? I get to have some children walking around my office with some people being like, oh, they're so cute, how old are they? I literally get to have that. And yet I am sitting here still being a child at 39, dependent at 39, unable to change out my biscuit tire at 39, unable to fall in love and say I love you too at 39. Like, why in the world is nobody telling me that they love me? Why do I have no husband? Why is there no man even pursuing me? Why is there no man so in love with me that he is prepared to basically move mountains in order that I should be safe? If at all that is an impossibility to experience in the black community, then I guess I will marry a white man. But there is no way under heaven that there can be nobody who loves me, or that can potentially love me, even at 40, 41, 42. I'm just dealing with some deadbeat ex-boyfriends, and men that feel entitled to me because they can see a diamond in the rough when they observe one, but they're trying to make it feel so trashy, so small, so minuscule, and so and so microscopic and incomprehensible when she speaks, illegible when she writes. Because I also have a blog, yeah, I get that, but apparently I'm illegible. I'm unread worthy. Nothing of mine moves off the shelves. If you've seen some of my content in my blog, the written pieces that sometimes linger for like tens of pages, like writing a whole 50-page article on my blog and no one reads it. All the work that I put in when there's so many people that love reading on the earth, so many people that love to read, and yet nobody's reading my blog. The amount of time I put into its design, it's like I've got a pretty blog. Do you understand what I'm saying? And nobody is trying to read my content. I'm well spoken and I'm also well written. I've been that way for a very long time. I have the gift of the gab, it's what God has given me. And yet nobody reads my blog and nobody watches my YouTube videos except for a handful of people. Every so often I get defibrillated back to life by one or two people that either reach out to me by actually writing me an email, which is rare, or somebody that'll donate me some small little amount of money. Then I know, oh goodness, somebody is actually watching me. But other than that, I thoroughly feel like I'm in a desert where I am out here planting seeds into soil or sand that cannot bear fruit. And so I feel obsolete. I am made to feel obsolete. And that obsolescence has made me feel like all that's left to happen now is for me to die. I feel like martyrdom is the only way I guess I'm getting out of this. I feel like it's the end of the world. Like it can't possibly not be the end, because look at the world. Because my world is so messed up. I don't know what's really true there. All I know is that apparently I'm like a Twinkie in 2118. Completely indestructible, even though I'm only being eaten in the year 5000. I'm sad, I'm broken, I'm lonely, and I'm dealing with selfish people that should not be this selfish against me. What kind of a mother does not want grandchildren? What kind of a sister does not want nieces and nephews? What kind of auntie does not want to dote over her nieces and nephews? What kind of parents don't want their children living, earning a salary, growing up, raising children, bringing grandchildren home? I live in a weird, anomalous, strange little police state that I don't understand. I gave my life to Christ, and ever since then people said you're not going to get to live. I grew up, excelled beyond being a child. At some point I was embraced as an adult in society, a working woman. I sat around in bumper to bumper traffic for hours, bored out of my mind, irritated, going to work for years. Walked into an office building where I awkwardly greeted colleagues. Morning, 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 morning. Sat around in meetings where I agreed or disagreed with people. Beefed every so often. Had to exercise political correctness in my conversations where I was irritated and annoyed with colleagues because I recognized the importance of being politically correct and not just blurting out my heart's desires in a meeting where I wanted to tell people off because I realized I'm in a working environment, and really frankly here we don't act like circus animals. I got taught all that etiquette only for me to be just sidelined from society, only for me to not partake in the economy of the country, only for me to not get listened to when I speak even though I'm very educated. Who under heaven is ignoring me right now? People that can't afford to, and yet they're ignoring me, trying to make me feel as if though I'm some incomprehensible child speaking. Like, you know, when a kid is just throwing out words, you can't really gauge what they're saying, but they're so adorable that you listen to them for 5 minutes until you get tired. And so now they're just rambling by themselves and you're like, yeah, yes, Timmy, yeah. That's how people are trying to act like I am. Like what I say, what's coming out of my mouth is like the words of a babbling little child trying to learn words. And they can't humor me too long because they're tired. They're grown-ups. They're older people that cannot just humor a 5-year-old just going for hours. And you can't even tell what they're saying. They literally treat me like I'm like that, except there are 5-year-olds that you can listen to for hours because these days they're so smart, these kids. And they treat me like I'm even lesser than that. Like what I say is not important enough to be of societal value, like weighty enough for society to embrace and accept it. Weighty enough for a global citizenship to either wag their heads and say I don't agree, or not and say yes I do agree, but at least I'm listenable. They treat me like I can't even blurt out an opinion that people can either agree or disagree with. Like the way that adults all are. I keep listening to videos on YouTube, watching people giving commentary about global events, and I'm like, am I less eloquent or less articulate than this man or this woman? Because nobody listens to me when I say the exact same things that this guy's saying. When I say the exact same things that this woman is saying. Am I less comprehensible? Is it tough to gauge what I'm saying? Can people not decipher or divide between the words I'm speaking in comparison to other human beings? Are they hearing jibber jabber when it comes out of my mouth? I have literally gone out of my way even to put captions beneath, even though some of them might not be accurate. Bottom line is, people love to read captions. I can't even watch a Netflix show without putting captions on. Otherwise you hear some funny little thing coming out. So that people don't gauge funny little things coming out of my mouth, I've then put captions down there. I go out of my way to iron out whatever might not be seemly in my background, in my environment, seeing as I live in these lowly conditions, that people might at least take me more seriously, given that I've tried to, hook up a background that people can at least say this is a sightly background. This is something that's pretty to look at. So I'm going to linger on Karabo's video because she's given me a nice little background. I've gone out of my way to even do that, except my living conditions are not so shoddy, that people can't even stand to look at me. I watch videos of all different kinds of people on YouTube, and some of them come from more lowly conditions in their background than me. There's like this one hair content creator that lives in in the heart of Africa, in a village, and her background is always villagey, but without the glory of it looking like some spa venue. It's the proper hard knock village, where sometimes walls in the house are really quite brown and dirty, and it's dark, but she has grown in the past 4 months alone, something like 4,000 subscribers. She does hair content. So I know that it's not about my speaking accent, it's not about my articulation of words, it's not about my background, it's not about even the words that I speak. It is just about me being a Christian that is persecuted and witchcraft trying to do a solid on me, so that I will finally settle for it when, guys, I use silence detection software so as to perhaps pace my videos to make sure that I am engaging, so people don't fall falling asleep because of my pauses. I go out of my way to do that, even though it's the free version. So it takes me a long time to edit it, because I have to first export it in some kind of a profile. What is this? I have to export it in a landscape or an orientation or a ratio that is different from the one that I ultimately publish my projects in. Private projects. I just spoke like a project manager. Yeah. In order for me to be able to use the silence detection software, so I can be engaging. And nobody listens to me still? For real? Are we for real? Seriously, is that what's going on? When there are so many people that don't have my pacing software, my silence detection removal software, that you will listen to an entire video, a person pausing for a whole 10 seconds and then they speak again. And there are people latching onto them, a whole 5,000 people. And yet I am going nowhere. It's weird. It's ominous. It's strange. It's anomalous. It ought not be. And yet it is. All the things I try do not work. It is not that the quality of my work is shoddy or lackluster, and neither is it that I'm not articulate. It is that God has seen it fit to allow witches to do this to me for whatever reason, the reasons of which become more and more elaborate to me as time progresses, yet still my heart is broken, my hope is deferred, and so my heart is sick. My longings are yet to be fulfilled, so I have no tree of life, and every so often I delve into a depression and a despair that calls me obsolete. I am not obsolete. There are people on YouTube that are older than me, with bigger channels than mine. There are people on YouTube younger than me. There are people on YouTube less eligible, eloquent, articulate than me. Legible, I meant to say. There are people on YouTube with lesser or lowlier backgrounds than mine that are being seen and heard. There are people on YouTube that have got long pauses in their videos that are nonetheless getting viewed. All the efforts I am putting in don't achieve any success for me because of what it is that people have stranded me in, and I will yet to understand fully the comprehensive nature of my persecution and what God is doing. But I do know that He is the one that is in control of this. He is the one that is in charge of my success or lack thereof, and the delusion, the optical one at that He is creating in the hearts and minds of others that are watching me. People who think that I am stranded are put in that position precisely because that's what God wants them to see. It cannot be anything other than that, because God is real. He is sovereign, and therefore my enemies are arrogant to imagine that I am in their clutch. If at all even the unbelieving of this world are not in the clutch of witches, how much more not in the clutch of any devil worshipper am I, given that I've given my life to Jesus Christ. I can never truly understand why I'm going nowhere, but I have got to daily wrap my head around the fact that God is faithful when we're faithless, for He cannot deny Himself. It is impossible for God to lie, and it is impossible for God to forsake His saints. And so when He is silent, it is impossible for Him to truly be abandoning of His saint. It must therefore mean that He is using this for my benefit, because He is not a man that He should lie, son of man to change His mind. Romans 8:28, all things work out together for the good of them who love the Lord and are called according to His purpose. This is gonna work out for my good, even though I don't see how. It is not for me to lean on my own understanding. In all of my ways I have to acknowledge God, for He will make my path straight. I have to trust Him. I don't know what He's doing. I am short every so often with Him, because I don't understand why I've been abandoned here to be salivated after by so many licentious men. But at the end of the day, I have to encourage myself with God's word. I'm struggling to encourage myself. But one thing that is true is that I am not worthless, unlistenable to, and ignorable, because practically everybody that tries to start something on YouTube gets somewhere, irrespective of their talent, irrespective of their recording devices, especially within Christianity. And I'm a Christian. Brethren come doing YouTube videos with shaky phones, shaky cameras. I make sure that I mount my phone so that it doesn't shake around all over the show, using a ring light at the back, except the ring light is dead. It doesn't even work. It's off, but at least it mounts my camera so that there is stability of my camera. I at least make sure that that happens. But there are other people who record their videos. Every so often their faces are falling out of the screen. Like, essentially, there is a lack of professional etiquette in terms of video recording in them, and yet they still get viewed. Because everybody understands that YouTube videos are videos done by non-professionals within the videography industry that just post whatever they want to post online and then get people who actually want to see what they're doing. Over time, they improve their content, they get better, they use better cameras, etc. But in the beginning, they tend to be shaky and not even all that audible. That's another thing, by the way. A lot of the YouTube videos that I watch, for whatever they might be, inaudible, like sound, it's so low, you can't hear what's being said. So you have to come real close, so use earphones and maximize the volume and what have you. Sometimes you even click away because it's just so low. And yet this person is out here getting viewed by 7,000 people with that level of difficulty to discern what's being said, to hear what's being said. I go out of my way to heighten my volume. I bet a lot of people, when they click on my video, from if at all they've been watching another YouTube video, when they click on mine, there is an immediately picked up increase of volume in my video. Literally, it's almost like I'm using a mic, except I'm not. And there are some people even on YouTube that use mics, and yet you can't hear. It's so low. It's so low. I go out of my way to heighten the volume of my videos so as to make sure that a person can listen to me while washing the dishes in the kitchen and their laptop is open behind them. The way that I not only do I project my voice, but I also sound settings. I make sure that they're at the maximum level that people might hear everything I'm saying, coupled with the captions. And one of these days, I'm gonna make sure that they're 100% accurate. That's the amount of work that I put in to my content. Every day's videos that I do take hours to edit because I have to run them through so much software. One is the silence detection software that I said on CapCut, I've got to change the orientation of the video in order to put it on my silence detection software. Otherwise, it's going to come with that big fat chunky watermark that I can't stand. I make sure that I don't have that watermark. I put it through silence detection, and then once it's out of silence detection, then only do I edit it on CapCut. On CapCut, sometimes depending on internet speeds, it can take a good 15 minutes for you to be 15 to 20 minutes trying to load captions. And the other day I slept at 8 a.m. in the morning. In other words, all night long I didn't sleep because I try to upload my content every single day. By every morning it has to be online. That's what's good. By the time I wake up, I have uploaded everything. And because I had a 3-part series and my computer kept crashing because of me trying to load captions on CapCut, I switched my computer on and off something like 2 times until finally my work succeeded to get to the end of itself. And only at 8 a.m., around 8 a.m. in the morning, was I done with the final part that I then uploaded so that I could sleep. And then I woke up at like 1 p.m. that same day with all my content fully uploaded, and then I published. I don't sleep unless my work is out. That's how hard I work, and that is how important it is for me to produce quality content. I also go out of my way to make sure that aesthetically I look good. So sometimes I put makeup using an application, but if it's not makeup, I make sure that I'm outwardly looking quite decent, presentable. So I try to get my hair done. Like stuff like, guys, it's like I'm going into an actual office where it is that there's like a whole corporate wardrobe. I go out of my way to produce good quality content with a human being that you can look at, smile to, nod with, and not be disturbed by something ornate or shiny, going on with them. I go out of my way, and yet I'm going nowhere. I'm sorry. Like, I might be shadow banned and I might be mistreated and I might be ignored, but I am still sentient enough to gauge that this here is like just an act of sabotage. That's what it is. There is no way that my content would have stayed in the stagnant position with all this work that I put in, all these improvements I've made ever since I started, coupled with the fact that just naturally, even without the help of silence detection software, without the help of application makeup, without the help of video recording devices that are of high quality or whatever, I just in and of myself with my raw talent would have been able to amass for myself at a minimum about 5,000 subscribers and a daily listenership of about 2,000 people. I should be there at a minimum, and yet I'm not there. So I mean, what do you think is happening here? I'm a powder keg waiting to explode. I'm a powder keg waiting to explode. I am something that's ultimately going to become very prolific. However, having been just the day before yesterday ever so violently ignored, like strangely though, ominously ignored. Ominously ignored. I am a sight for sore eyes, it's clear. And those who have put me in a position to be such a sight as that are going to be humiliated. And I guess that's the reason why they're working so hard to seize me from working, to stop me. But it doesn't matter, I'm gonna carry on. Because Jesus is my encouragement. He's the one that keeps on telling me that I am, like I said, a tinky in the 21st century or the 22nd century that is still being eaten in the like 50th century or whatever. That's what I am. The word of the Lord will not perish. It will not do anything of that nature. It'll endure forever, even though many other things will pass away. So really and truly, I guess all I can do is wait on God. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to be achieved out of my sad and sappy and sorry life. I do not know where this is going. All this persecution by my family, the mistreatment of my person because of this work that I'm doing, I don't know where it's going. But all I know is that it's not going where they think it's going. I don't know where this is going, but all I know is that this is not going where my enemies hope it's going to go. I do not know how this is going to end, but all I know is that it's not going to end the way they hope it will. And as for my feelings of being obsolete with all of these exploiters all over the show, like I said, like just watch the space. However difficult it might be to daily just keep saying that, I will say it. Because indeed, watch the space. Watch it. And those who will persecute me again, because I spoke truth that they're ignoring, again, watch the space. Whether or not people want grandchildren is irrelevant because I am going to be a mom. Whether or not people want nieces and nephews is irrelevant because I'm going to be a mom. Whether or not people want new kids in a creche is irrelevant because I'm going to be a mom. And it will not be to some deadbeat baby daddy. It will be to a doting husband, if the Lord will have anything to do with it. And that doting husband will not be some zesty pest from my past. It will be somebody that will have made an observation of Rebecca because their name was Isaac. Is that basic? I'm waiting on Christ. I'm not going to go and produce through Hagar and Ishmael. I am going to wait for Isaac because I have learned from the mistakes of our mother, Sarah, not to give your husband over to a different strange woman. I'm going to wait. Just like genetics, I'm going to wait. Just as that poem encouraged me all those years ago, it will encourage me still today. The word of the Lord will not pass away, and neither will all of his poets' words pass away if they encouraged us. So even though I might have listened to that poem a good, like 13, 14 years ago, bottom line is this, it's still as resonant in my ears today as it was back then. I will wait. I'm signing out in Christ's name. I hope you've been edified. It's 22:41. I can afford to be here at 11 p.m. today because my curfew enforcer is not here. Bye.